Good morning. Been a while since I've done a little vid. Guess I've just been super busy with kids and lockdowns and all sorts of stuff. And but I suppose I just felt like coming on today just to, I suppose, relay some words of encouragement to those of you that might be feeling somewhat, I suppose apathetic isn't the right word, but a little bit run down, fatigued, feeling somewhat depressed, and are struggling with the clear mundanity of a life which has been transformed for you so in such a short space of time. To adapt to change is often quite difficult when we've been in a certain lifestyle or routine for a long period of time, and that can work both ways. So if you've been in a certain mindset for a very long time, be it from the negative or positive aspect, or the negative or positive pole, you know, cup half full, cup half empty, to suddenly redirect that intention or redirect that perception isn't easy, okay? It takes effort, it takes time, it takes awareness, it takes consciousness. And so, like, I guess most of us, I can only speak for the UK, but probably most of the Western world, we've been so used to what essentially is a very fast-paced, routined life where, you know, maintaining the economic machine, maintaining the household, maintaining the money flow, maintaining the activities that we all engage in, and I suppose living life at a certain pace that gives us the impression that we're living it fully has suddenly just been chopped. It's almost like if you've ever run a marathon and you hit a certain distance, some people hit what's called the wall, right? You've been running at a certain pace, boom, 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 and then suddenly your body shuts down without anyone saying, but it feels like you've run into a wall. Okay, it feels like you've just gone boff. And it knocks you for six because, you know, it's a natural energetic reaction to an overload of all the nervous systems within the body, as well as the hormones and the chemicals that are running through the body at that point in time during the race. And in many ways, you know, when you hit a wall, it's quite difficult to get up after that. And when we've been living life at a certain pace for so long, and we're kind of forced into a much more sedate, mundane routine where the usual distractions aren't around us to engage in, it can feel like you've run into a wall. Yeah. In this case, the wall's been put there in front of you, so you've not essentially run into the wall yourself, even though some people do if they're too stressed and if they're not living their lives in balance. But we've had a wall placed in front of us. You know, it's almost like you're running at this rate, and then boof, you've got to slow down. You've got to come to a complete standstill in an instant. And as many as you, as I'm sure you'll understand, to kind of go from 1,000,000 miles an hour to a standstill or a much slower pace requires an equal and opposing force that can make you feel like you've been hit by a brick. Yeah. So the point of this video really is to help you understand that feeling low, fatigued, demotivated, to some extent apathetic, and the struggle to maintain joie de vivre, yeah, joy for life at the moment, can be difficult. So stop don't beat yourself up over it. All right, a lot of people think, oh, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling low, my body's fatigued, I can't be asked to get out of bed, I can just about get myself out the front door for a walk. We're not allowed to meet people, I'm not even allowed to engage in going out for coffee. That's not something that you must beat yourself up for, because what that does, it adds energy to that wall. All right, what your body and what your psyche is telling you is that actually there's an opportunity for some deep rest. Yeah. So the word deep rest, depressed, could be pronounced deep rest. If you're feeling depressed, at times that's a signal for your spirit, or rather your soul is telling you, I need to disengage. I need to actually honor this cloud, this darkness that is cocooning me right now, because my soul needs to rest. All right, my soul needs to rest. My soul might be a bit tired of playing the old roles that I've been playing for so long. Okay, my soul may be waking up and questioning and redirecting itself through this physical existence, and for that to happen, it needs time out. It needs time out to contemplate. It needs time out to go within. But obviously, too much within, again, is another kind of swing of the pendulum to another polarity. So, I've recently been working with certain clients who some I have been able to help, and others not so much, because one thing I will say is, if you're feeling like this and you're allowing yourself to really, 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 really descend into deeper states of anxiety and depression, whilst you feel out of control with what's happening in the world around you, there needs to be, at some level, a summoning of willpower to at least do a few things a day for yourself which make you feel human. All right, because we are souls in animal bodies, in human bodies, right? And these bodies have needs. This human experience is about connection. It's about love. It's about activity, purposeful activity. It's about giving and receiving in life. It's about connection with nature. And despite everything that's going on now, we've been running really fast in a direction that's been very far away from that. And I think we've got to get honest about that and be able to say to ourselves, well, yeah, I mean, the fact I'm speaking to you through a phone now, it can be good, but is that getting out of balance now? I used to set talking circles up, and we used to meet and just to have that physical human connection, is far more beneficial energetically than just listening to someone through a computer screen or a phone screen. So again, we're swinging our pendulum a bit too far in one direction, and we need to try and bring that back into balance a little bit. And yet there are opposing forces around us which are, they seem quite powerful when you only think it's you that's attempting to overcome them. But just know that there are a collective of minds and collective of people who although we may be separated due to lockdowns, rules, regulations, are thinking and feeling the same thing, are thinking and feeling that it's time to redress the balance now before we allow ourselves to become broken. Because the techniques that are being used to keep us locked away are coercive. They tap into our unconscious shadows. They tap into our egoic natures of wanting to feel helped, or rather wanting to help, but not understanding where that wanting to help comes from. Okay, because more often than not, if we're always giving and wanting to help, it's because maybe in the past, as children, we've been belittled by our parents, or we've been bullied, or we've been made to feel not enough. So our natural compensation for that through our unconscious shadow is to want to kind of do the right thing and be good and be validated. Yeah, and so when you've been traumatized, and when souls have been traumatized for so long by certain forces, you know, the Bible calls them the principalities and powers. You know, in Tibetan shamanism and Buddhism, you know, they talk about tulpas and evil spirits and whatever you want to call it, really. These forces, they don't love you, all right? Yeah, they want to feed off you. And the more depressed and kind of apathetic you feel, the easier it is just to keep you controlled and penned in like an animal. So there's two aspects to what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is it's normal to feel the way you do if you are feeling like that. And I know a lot of people are at the moment. They've had a nuts full of what's going on, and they want to start engaging in life again at a much more conscious and appropriate level. And yet, everywhere you turn, there doesn't seem to be any agreement with that need. All right. So be honest with yourself and be honest with where you're at. And even if it's as simple as, and, you know, when I'm working in the prison, I talk to the inmates a lot about this, you know, because the prison routine is really, really tough. Yeah. It's beyond military. It's, you know, you think this is mundane, right? But little things like making your bed really well in the morning. All right. So when you get out of bed, if you can get yourself out of bed, make it, but make it beautifully. So if you've had a shit day, right, and you've come at the end of the day going, oh, I can't wait to go to bed, at least you've got a beautiful, well-made bed to get into, so you can just feel that, at least I've done something positive for myself today. Learn to cook. Yeah, these... At least we can still access food at some level, right? So we can access food. So things that you may not have been able to do or had time to do in the past because you've been so busy with work and kids and all sorts of stuff. And I'm not saying we still aren't busy doing that. We're just busy in a different way. But we have more opportunity now because we're not maybe traveling so much to work, right? You know, if we're working from home on computers and whatnot. Use some of that time to maybe redirect some of your energy into learning something new. Yeah? And it could be as simple as learning how to make some simple food which you might not have been able to in the past. All right? Instead of buying food from packets which are full of shit, full of sugar, full of chemicals, which are convenient but generally aren't good for your body. So learning how to cook from scratch as we head into our uncertain future is always a really good skill to have. And these are very practical things I'm talking about today. This isn't about floating off and avoiding all of this and omming your way out of reality. This is about bringing inspiration, bringing spirit back into your body, yeah, and motivating yourself to want to keep moving forward. Because these are dark and powerful opposing forces that are in play at the moment. And they will require an equal and opposite force of, I wouldn't say the word opposition, but an equal and opposite force of inspiration to be able to weave through them. Okay, sometimes it's not about opposing the force, it's about working with it, but in a way which is advantageous. Okay, so get a bit crafty, bring some fox energy into your lives and say, well, actually, if I'm struggling to do this, but I can do this instead, right? And that might help me for the future. It's a game of survival, right? And whether we're surviving in a house locked away and not being able to kind of mix with other people, or whether we're really struggling to survive because we haven't got as much work coming in or whatever because everyone's locked down, then we've got to redirect our energies into adapting to these new ways of life. Because whatever you say, I personally don't feel or believe that life is ever going to go back to what it was 12 months ago. Okay, and that's probably not something people want to hear. They want to hear, well, we've had our vaccines and now we can go and mix, but that's not happening. It's not happening. And if it does happen, it's likely to happen under some pretty stringent conditions. So unfortunately, or fortunately for some, because some people feel this is all really great. fine. You know, whatever camp you're in, I don't care. All I'm talking about is whatever camp you're in, we're still in the same boat, right? We're still experiencing the same things. And to some extent, we have to learn how to adapt and manage those energies within us more often than not. So just know that you have it in you to lift yourself, okay, if you're really struggling, by just doing one purposeful thing as a starting point. Yeah. If I was to climb a ladder to get to the top windows of my house to clean my windows, I wouldn't take 3 or 4 rungs at a time, would I? Because that would be crazy. That would create, you know, a risk that I would fall off the ladder. I would make sure I had a ladder which I could walk up slowly, 1 rung at a time, okay, to get to my destination. And that's what I'm talking about here. When we've slid down the ladder a little bit, we've got to go back up rung by rung, okay? And even if you can manage 1 rung in a day or 1 rung in a week, that's 1 rung better than it was before, okay? So small, manageable, realistic, yeah, achievable mini goals just to keep your life moving forward in some respect. Get a book. Read a book. Read something that you've never read before. Yeah, I've started getting into my artwork again, all right? So between cooking for the kids, between helping them with their homework because they're still off school, between maybe certain sessions that I'm doing for my work, and in periods of when the weather's so bad so you can't even go out, you know, without getting sopping wet or not wanting to go out, then redirect that energy into something purposeful and something inspirational and unique to you. So I've started getting into my painting a little bit, which has actually been really therapeutic. I've really enjoyed it because I haven't picked up a paintbrush for quite a long time. And then obviously if you've got kids, your kids might want to copy you, which is great because, you know, you lead by example. You don't lead by telling. Yeah, lead by example, and that way you're setting a directional energy which your children can follow to their benefit rather than to their detriment. Because if all you're doing is stuck in front of a screen on these phones or computers, these machines, they are just going to drain you, right? And your kids are going to observe that, and they're going to do the same, and they're just going to get drained by it. These phones, even though I'm speaking through one now, if I had the opportunity, right, tomorrow, to throw this fucking phone in the bin and never pick it up again, I would do it. The only reason I have this phone is because, for whatever reason, collectively, we have entrained this technology into our lifestyles, and we have allowed ourselves to make them an indispensable tool in order to connect, do business, earn money, and also speak to each other. And look where we've ended up. In our homes, on our own, speaking to each other through screens. How paradoxical and ironic is that? So, but you can always change the direction. You can always put the phone down and say to the kids, right, get a canvas out, get some paints out, and start to enjoy some of the basic things in life again, because we've lost our ability to do that. And as we move forward, you know, if for whatever reason we end up getting more and more restricted and controlled, then these ports of creativity will create a lifeline for us and a purpose for us. So, not trying to be cynical, not trying to be negative, but I'm just trying to be realistic. And I know, like I said, when I'm working with inmates in prisons who have been inside for a really long time, you know, apart from their spirits getting broken and their egos getting broken, which isn't a bad thing when the unhealthy ego needs to redirect itself, that creative force within you is still there, and it needs to move in some way. And otherwise, that depression kicks in, that inability to move energy correctly. So even if you in your kitchen do a bit of yoga, running on the spot, do some shadow boxing, whatever, just to keep your energy moving in the house, if you're not outside so much, then that's a good thing too. So it's not just about getting the mind straight. It's about getting, we got three centers of energy: the mind, the heart, and the motor sexual, and they're all just as important as each other. And if one is stealing from the others, or if one is in high activity and the others are in low activity, we feel out of balance and out of sorts. So set up a little prison routine for yourselves, right? Set up a little cell workout in your living room, right? Set up a cooking schedule, set up some creative time, set up some tidying time. You know, keep your universe, as small as it is now, under your management. Okay, so manage yourself within will eventually create a much more functional environment for you to exist in outside of yourself. And so through that discipline, as we come out of these lockdowns, as we come out of these restrictions, however long that might take, if we ever come out of them fully, then at least we've got a basis to be able to exist in, rather than coming out of it from a position of total demotivation, depression, and apathy, which isn't great, because the shock to the system when life wants you to engage again can actually make it worse. All right, so keep moving forward, keep ticking over. There's always something that you can work with your energy to do and create, as difficult as it is now to do that. So anyway, I hope that's helped a little bit, and I'll wait another few days probably before I make another video and go back to my painting. Many blessings.